Got the manifold off, got the block cleaned up, and cleaned up the 2 manifolds, one off each block. Looks like the one off of this motor is probably in a little bit better shape. They're pretty close, but I think this one's just a little bit better. So we'll go ahead and we'll put it on there, and got new gaskets and everything, and so we'll get those on there and get them torqued down. Got a few goodies at Tractor Supply. Got a hydraulic dipstick because I don't have one, and of course got these gaskets and lower radiator hose. So we're going to go back with new hoses and everything. Got a thermostat for it. It's nice to be able to just go to the store and get stuff like that for something this old. The good thing about the 8 ends, 9 ends, 2 ends, just get so many parts for them still. So let me get these gaskets on, and we'll get that manifold on. Manifold on. It may not seal up. The block right there is kind of indented where it's kind of rusted away, and the manifold's the same way right there. So that gasket, you can tell, is really not getting pinched. So it's probably going to blow out again there. The solution is probably going to be to try to build that up right there on the block. I don't know if I could braze it and then file it back smooth, or do something right there. I don't know if JB Weld would hold up, but it's probably going to need something right in that corner, and the manifold too, or maybe just, I don't know how much a manifold is for this thing, but this manifold and my other one, both in this corner, are pulled away from the block. You know, I don't know if they're warped or if they're just, I guess they are warped. So we'll see if it holds. The gaskets for only $6, and 4 bolts and it comes off. So it's not like it's difficult or anything to do in the future. So, well, and the 2 bolts for the exhaust. But anyway, let's continue on, and I think that manifold looks good on there. That was the better of them. That block, like I said, was indented right there, kind of worn away. This one's in better shape right there, but probably what happened is it blew out a gasket, and they just kept running it with it out, and it that heat will kind of eat away at the metal. So I'm gonna throw what I got left. This gasket's pretty much shot, but it's good enough just to hold that manifold on. And we got this gasket here we'll throw on the front. And we'll just throw a few bolts in this manifold. And that will keep this thing in good shape. This motor, even though the block's cracked, the internal should be all good. So, you know, crankshaft, everything should be in good shape. Of course, pistons and sleeves and all that are shot, and rings, but it had good oil pressure, so it's got a good oil pump, it's got good bearings, it's got all that stuff. Of course, we would never use bearings, but the crank itself is in good shape. Camshaft, all that stuff, lifters, everything should be good on this motor. It may even have a good head on it. So if I ever need any of those parts, minus a block, you know, I've got this whole motor to get parts off of. So we'll save this motor, put that manifold on it. That's a good place to keep the manifolds. And all I got to do is put some duct tape over there, over here, and we got it all sealed up. So get that all back together, and we will continue on. We got quite a bit more work to do here. I'll probably, before I mess any more with the motor, probably undo the wiring harness, start getting the steering gearbox, all this stuff off, and the motor will be the last part. Progress. So, here we go. Motor is out. We will check our throwout bearing. It looks like this thing's had a clutch put in it, but it's pretty oily in here. So we'll probably, what I'm thinking is maybe see what the other clutch looks like and the flywheel. This flywheel looks pretty good, but it's all going to depend on what that other one looks like, because this one might have oil on the clutch, and that will ruin a clutch because it's very oily. And that bell housing, I'm sure that rear main seal is leaking pretty bad. And this one, looked fairly dry. Got a little surface rust on it from being open right here, but we'll take a look at it, see what it looks like once we get this thing off. I think what I'm going to do first is I picked up a 1/4 inch tap. We're about out of time today, so I probably won't do it today, but we are going to tap this spot right here on the head for a temperature sending unit. So we'll drill this out, then drill a pilot hole, then drill a bigger hole for the tap, and then tap it for 1/4 inch pipe thread. And I've got a temp gauge that we're going to put on it. And since I'll be using this as a working tractor, I'd like to have a temp gauge. So after we do that, I think we'll pull it. Well, I could always do that once I get it mounted over there, but I'm kind of at a stopping place for today, so I don't think I will do any more. Out with the old, in with the newer. So we'll wipe this down, kind of clean this up a little bit, see which throwout bearing seems to be better, and see which clutch seems to be better, flywheel, all that, and we'll put the best of the best back in it. Like I said, this one looks like it's had a clutch put in it because it says 8N in marker on the clutch. So we know this one's good, plus we were using it. That one's going to be a risk to use it, but it may be better. I don't have a clutch alignment tool, but I don't know, this shaft may pull out of the transmission. If it does, I can use that to line it up. It may pull out, I don't know. So, let's see what we can work out. The other thing is you could leave the clutch bolts loose where you can slide the clutch around, and you can get in here. Yeah, you can get in here and get to the pressure plate bolts. So we could do that if we needed to, but we'll see. But that's where I'm quitting for now. Tonight, today. Just use that to pull it out. Not too bad. These tractors are really easy to work on. thanks for watching. And it's apart. So I decided to keep on working just a little bit longer. I wanted to go ahead and get this one off. I couldn't just leave it. Wanted to get it off, and I think I'm going to go ahead and bolt it up. I went ahead and pulled this before I pulled that clutch off. You know, from what I can look at it and see, it still looks pretty thick. See? Still looks pretty thick. And the flywheel looks, it may be a little worse than mine. Yeah, the flywheel's worse than mine, but surely that's a replacement clutch. And the pilot bearing feels good. Yeah. It's not too bad of a flywheel though. Torn on what to do. Let's see what this clutch is probably not really that great. I'll show you. See, it's gotten cooked with oil. So there's oil on this disc. It's also possible that somebody replaced the clutch disc and replaced this. Down in the bottom here, we got old clutch chunks. See? So it had a clutch come apart at some point. This flywheel looks better. But this was decent. I'm torn. I don't think this clutch is good. I think I'd be better off using the other one. This one looks like it was probably a relined clutch. It definitely doesn't look too good. It's scored. So I think what we're going to do, this thing's pretty easy to split, and if I ever had to split it again, I wouldn't take the front end and all that stuff off of it. Take the hood off, probably leave the wiring mostly intact and pull it apart. Wouldn't take the steering gearbox, all that kind of stuff off. I think we're going to risk using this clutch. See, this one, springs aren't all pitted like that other one. It's probably has been replaced, and it was probably a new one. The pressure plate, don't know about it, but this one's not all coated in oil. So I think we're just going to put this one on there and call it good. And both throwout bearings felt good, so I'll just keep the one that's on there. So I think we're ready to just slide this motor up and get it on there. Bolt it up. Alright, it's in and it's bolted up. And what I did is with that engine leveler, you can get the engine perfectly level and then get the height perfectly right. So I slid it up to the clutch, started it into the clutch, took a wrench, put on the crank, rotated the crank just a hair, so that, you know, the splines would line up on the clutch and the input shaft, and it slid in. So once it slid in, started a couple bolts, ran them up, and ran the rest of the bolts in. So it actually went in really easy. So got all the bolts in except for these two, which hold the battery tray. Those will go in after the steering gearbox. And so for right now, the motor's in. While I've got it all uncovered, I'm going to put my other coil in. I'm going to drill this out. I'll probably go ahead and mount the alternator. All that stuff that's just really easy to do with the motor just hanging out right here in the front. So we'll get all that stuff done. So now it's just a bunch of little stuff to do. And hopefully that is a good clutch. It's my only concern, but it's either use that clutch or buy a new one, because I would not put this oil-soaked one in. So we'll risk the other one, and hopefully it'll be a good one. It's about $100 for a clutch, but if I don't want to buy one, if I don't have to buy one, don't want to, it's not that hard to do it. Take the hood off, and you would just undo the bolts. You can leave the front end attached to the motor. Just put a jack under the back of the, it's a cast iron oil pan, so you can put a jack under it. Put a jack under it, and you could roll it forward on a jack and the front wheels. You'd have to undo these two cups and the steering, the tie rod ends. But after all that, you can just roll the motor forward and then roll it back when you're done. So, of course, you'd have to jack up this too. Jack up this, put it on a stand, and jack up the whole thing, put it on a stand to where you got the weight of the rear end and everything on there. Then jack up the motor and slide it out. So we're going to slide this back under. I may go ahead and order a front pivot pin while we got it out. It's pretty sloppy, or pivot bushing. I don't know if the pin's any good. I may just go ahead and order a pin too. That one's just as bad, so might as well order one. This thing, the bolt, I think, is broke out. No, it's just out. So we need to put a bolt back in there. Get this thing back together. The whole front end's pretty sloppy. It needs a lot of work, but all that's easy at any point. This is would be really easy to do right now with the whole front end out from under it. So I might as well go ahead and do that. So let me get this hoist in the shop, just in case it rains. That motor is pretty heavy. Since it is a cast iron oil pan, it weighs a lot more than your standard 4-cylinder would. And I should have adjusted my legs out a little bit on my stand. I had put all the legs in because this thing was on the other side of the shop, and it was not easy to get out where it was, so I needed all the clearance I could. So I made this thing as small as I could. I need to take my battery in and charge it up. That cordless impact, even though I've got air right here, it's nice. I don't use it a whole lot, but I got it out for this project, so I was working out there and didn't feel like, well, truth be told, I had it in the back of the Suburban because I took it with me when I went to go get this tractor, just in case I needed to undo any lug bolts. I was worried about that wide rim, thinking I might have to flip it around. So I took that just to have it, and needed. And anyway, it was handy, so I went ahead and used it. I didn't even break out any air tools for any of it. Well, I did the air grinder, but any ratcheting tools I used at Impact. So anyway, thanks for watching.